Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Convention with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup, and we're going to get started with this week's X-Men and Avengers titles. Kicking things off with X-Factor number 7. Where we left off, X-Factor was investigating the mysterious deaths of Siren, Teresa Cassidy, formerly a former member of David Madrox's X-Factor investigations, as well as, and before that, a member of Cable's X-Force strike team, and also a former resident of Muir Island. However, when Polaris confronted her about her recent deaths, well, it turns out that the Death Goddess that had inhabited her a long time ago, Morrigan, was still there and used Siren's sonic hypnosis to, well, hypnotize Polaris into forgetting about what she had just learned, and also actively act against X-Factor's further investigations. So the issue begins. Prodigy is receiving phone call upon phone call upon phone call upon phone call from his boyfriend, Tommy, aka Speed. And he explains that he was killed in an ONE attack on Xavier's school that wiped out a bunch of the other kids. And Tommy has no, he didn't, because they were together that night. And he in fact shows Prodigy a photo of this. The two of them then make out, and at super speed, no less. And we see a note to Prodigy from Elixir stating they knew to resurrect him without a body because of the official incident report of Prodigy's death was mailed to them along with that of Loa, Rain, and everyone else who bid it around that same time. It was before X-Factor was established, so there were no formalized proof of death protocols, but since Wolverine and Cyclops were able to confirm so many of these deaths, they didn't question Prodigy's either. And there's an envelope enclosed as well, address to the 5 from Club Pepper. Dakin and Aurora have a quick chat. Dakin's death, Aurora is starting to, I wouldn't necessarily say fall for Dakin, but yeah, he was into her from the get-go. Well, she started to be into him, but he's going off to tail Siren all day. But they talk a bit, and he explains that the way his pheromone powers work is that, yeah, he can nudge brain chemicals a certain way, but he can't just, if certain chemicals aren't there, aren't really active at the moment, he can't make them. And he's not a telepath, but he can smell and see and so on and so forth, things that people feel, but he doesn't know why it is they do. They continue to talk about this and then flirt a bit, and then North Star calls him away. Tells him that he needs to take some fleet suits, and also that he'll kill Dakin if Dakin breaks Aurora's heart. Which Dakin just says, North Star's good for it. But he calls, and then Polaris answers and tells everyone, nope, that Basic explains that Siren went to Barcelona gate, doubled back to Krakow, then went to the Southern Alberta gate, and he's tailing her on a bus. However, Polaris tells the team that she's in Barcelona sightseeing. But iBoy picks up something's off with Polaris. She's lying for some reason. Speed is on his way to see Prodigy and runs by North Star and realizes it's North Star, and well, apparently Speed's a fan, and basically he fanboys out, asking North Star questions, and North Star tells him that he's welcome to visit the Boneyard anytime. But we also learn quite a bit about North Star's powers, like his top speed, which is 189,299 miles per second. Speed wants to race, but, well, North Star's got X Factor things to do, and it's also explained that the speed that at North Star's top speed, he would destroy everything in his path. He would garrote the world, as he puts it, he would garrote the world in half with one lap if he wished it. However, it would also destroy him physically. He can't breathe at that point because he's created a vacuum and his organs are getting crushed and bones pulverized in the dust. So, yeah. But then they also talk about his past as an Olympic skier, a speedster, skiing. Apparently, Dakin continues to call Polaris and just gets hung up on, while the rest of the team is asking various others about what's going on with her. Banshee, who is unaware of his daughter's frequent deaths. Dazzler, who mentions that Siren has been missing a lot of band practice lately. Madroxes, who were just like, hey, yeah, we had a thing once upon a time, but that was a one-time thing, you know? I'm not her keeper or anything. Adding that when he ran X Factor, they did things differently, though. North Star does point out that must be why he's running things now. They also ask Havoc. Somebody hasn't seen her around lately at all, really. There's also a write-up about Morrigan, goddess of death and battle. Some claim she's existed since death itself began and has taken many different forms and different names as ages pass. It said she is a shapeshifter who can affect areas of death and battle in all ways, including both bestowing and removing abilities in others. She can weaken victims to the brink of death or heal the sick back from the very same edge if she wills it. The history of her begins in 250 BCE, in which the Morrigan battles for her new host body. Her original form has long since been lost to time, and thusly the Morrigan may only pass into a new host upon death of the former host. Though her window of time to do so is limited. It is death itself that permits the transfer, whether or not the intended host, who is always female, consents. The source of the Morrigan's powers is by her own account ageless, drawn from the font of death and battles themselves. Celts and Druids made ritual sacrifices in praise of her name, and some texts tell of death rite rituals found across many a different heathen society of eras gone. Interesting. But yeah, Dakin lies to Siren, telling them that the team's on their way, and she basically tells him he's full of crap, smacks him around. Meanwhile, North Star's husband points out that what's going on with Siren sounds like, she's being kind of kept away from people by an abuser. And as Siren beats the holy hell out of Dakin, She insults him, tells him that no one cares about him. You know, no one cares what happens to him. You know, not his father, not his co-workers, no one. And then she impales him on a broken crossbeam, adding that she's doing them all a favor by getting Dakin out of their hair. Rachel shows up and asks if they're working today, and Lorna makes a comment about having already worked. When iBoy calls her out on this, explaining that she's lying, Rachel undoes whatever's finds out what's been done and undoes it, and then Polaris explains that Dakin is elsewhere, and so yeah, North Star runs and finds him. Dakin forgot to bring fleet seeds. Pulls him off frees him from the crossbeam, and later, after he heals, Aurora goes to visit him in the Boneyard's alveolar caves. They make out a bit, though. Yeah, he is still healing. And Dakin actually asks why North Star is so protective of her, and she explains that there's nothing he's more terrified of than losing people he cares about. Part of it has to do with his time in the Age of X-Men, and with Dakin adding that both of his little sisters were trapped there as well. And it's explained that everyone came back from the Age of X-Men acting a bit different. And Aurora adds it's a trauma, and that's what trauma does to us. It rewires their brain. Basically, North Star is still terrified and needs to keep checking that everyone's still there. The issue ends then later that night with Prodigy and iBoy in front of a TV screen. But everyone's dead. Aurora, North Star, Rachel, Polaris, iBoy, Prodigy, and Dakin are the only ones left. And there's a glowing sigil of Morrigan on the floor. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our next title, Hellions, number 9. Where we left off in Hellions, Nanny had saved a sentient AI from from Cameron Hodges' base, though it was supposed to be destroyed, and well, yeah, the AI had been corrupted, as Krakoa does see sentient AI, or truly sentient AI, as a threat because, well, you know, Sentinels. Did I mention Sentinels? Yeah, you get the idea. Anywho, but their mission to the facility was to retrieve the spare armor that Nanny had for Orphan Maker's body, because he must be enclosed in his armor, because whereas even Charles Xavier will usually say that no mutation is truly a curse, Yeah, he makes an exception when it comes to Orphan Maker. And basically, Orphan Maker cannot be resurrected without his armor. So, yeah. Anywho, the issue begins at Bar Sinister. Sinister and Mastermind are having tea. It's the specific type of tea being Da Hong Pao. And Sinister remarks that the Hellfire Trading Company must have some dirty, dirty dirt on the PRC to get that out of China. But Mastermind explains that it was a gift, a small amount at least, and Krakoa grew the rest. But apparently, Sinister made an offer to Sinister. And apparently, both of them bristle at the rules of their island paradise, with Mastermind stating that the adornments of this Gilded Age may in fact be shackles. However, it's promptly revealed that no. Mastermind, while Mastermind states he was there, that Sinister has a deal, well, he poisoned the tea and, yeah, basically takes Sinister away. Elsewhere, Orphan Maker is resurrected and put into his armor before his mutation can manifest. And much like Nanny and Wild Child, he's also slightly different after dying in Araco. In their training facility, the Hellions are training. Empath tries to get the crazy part of Havoc to come out to play, but Havoc approach tells him exactly where to stick it. Grey Crow and Wild Child have a bit of a fight. Spurred on in part by the fact that, well, Wild Child's horny. But Psylocke then interrupts things and tells everyone to suit up as there's been an incident. Sage, I meet with Sage in the Point, who explains that they've got footage from the New York gate at 3:30 this morning. The same time, the security phone alerted her to an unscheduled departure. The same time, she saw with her own eyes one of their own being assaulted by agents of Xeno. But Havoc points out that he didn't see any of that. And Sage adds that she doesn't either, because something got into her streams and erased the footage like it was never there. And she then explains that the one of her own was kidnapped by Xeno was none other than Mr. Sinister. For a moment, Havoc asks what they do when the team realizes she's talking about Sinister. That Sage is talking about Sinister, and Grey Crow simply says, "Grab some lunch," and then, well, yeah, Havoc can't keep a straight face after that. Even Empath gets in on cracking jokes, and Wild Child even finds it amusing, but. Basically, Psylocke explains that they'll rescue Sinister and bring him back. Though apparently this, I think she may have also gotten into I think Psylocke may have telepathically manipulated Sage a little, given the supplemental statement about the mission authorization for the Hellions. But yeah. In New York, the team walks through the gate. They're met by Mastermind, who takes them to the Hellfire Club in a limo. However, then the limo's a boat, then a plane, and yeah, he's having fun with his illusion powers. The team seems to fall and all die. Though it's explained that their brains are simply shocked unconscious, and they're all still alive. Though he says to his unseen benefactor that what he's done is harder than it looks. Though his benefactor adds that what happened just looks like it was utterly boring, but he just was boring as good. As we learn that his mysterious benefactor is none other than Arcade, who has Sinister held captive in a stasis pod tube of some type. And the issue ends with a quote from Nightcrawler. Most deceivers author their own demise, blinded by their fictions. Some deceivers see clearly and in their madness destroy many. And that is... Which brings us to this week's single solitary Avengers title. Avengers number 42. Now, where we left off in Avengers, the contest of the Phoenix was occurring, and things were not looking good for Echo and her battle under the sea against Namor. Namor reflects on having killed a shark when he was but a young boy, and the pride he felt when he told his mother that after he kills a few sharks, a few things that want to bite him, everything the deep will learn to swim clear of Prince Namor. But the fight between the two does not go well. And Namor is thoroughly convinced, well, for Echo, and Namor is thoroughly convinced that he will be the one true Phoenix when all is said and done. Elsewhere in the Henan province in China, Cap and Shang-Chi are fighting, with Cap trying to convince Shang-Chi to basically, hey, just, give into it, because you're probably, of all of us, you're probably the best of us to have the Phoenix Force. And hey, we'll all work with you to keep it in check. But yeah, they fight, they spar a bit, but then Cap gets pulled away back to the white hot room. Valkyrie explains that she doesn't think that the Phoenix likes it when it's played. He's trying to make plans. Black Panther figures. Black Panther thought that as Shang-Chi's father was one of the foulest villains who ever lived, he was hoping that there was enough darkness in Shang-Chi's soul for the Phoenix's liking. But it would seem that Shang-Chi's deep-seated refusal to follow in his father's footsteps proved to basically, turn the Phoenix off. And then Jen Walters notes that Namor won his fight, but they could all hear Echo. She could hear Echo screaming in her head. And she wants to know just what Namor did to Echo. Black Knight says he probably did the same thing he did to her that he's going to do to whichever one of us he faces next. Shanna states that she's wrestled prehistoric fish before, and it usually ends with Zabu gnawing on the bones. American Eagle points out they ain't all fish. But Cap does... We find out that the fight between Black Panther and Nighthawk battled for hours to a virtual standstill until the Phoenix simply chose Black Panther over Nighthawk. And T'Challa adds that they're all wrestling with the same fears right now, failing, and even more so, what happens if they win. American Eagle points out he doesn't have that fear. Black Knight then adds that if they do win, it's the Avengers versus the Phoenix all over again. Except this time it's one of them who's wearing the flames. Logan then states that he ain't an Avenger anymore, which answers that question. And he adds that none of them are going to be wearing flames. Not for long, because adding that the Avengers have taken enough from mutants and they ain't getting the Phoenix too. Valkyrie points out that that's exactly what the Phoenix wants, us posturing and bickering with one another, divided. And Logan basically decides to be the voice of the anti-Jane Foster chuds on chuds. Cap points out that one of them is going to die unless they can end this and send the Phoenix back to where it belongs. And Black Panther points out, what if Earth is where it belongs, though? What if it has come to them now for a very specific reason? Either way, they have to be ready within the Phoenix Force and without. In the bringer of Avengers Mountain, they've Moon Girl has got the celestial teleporter primed and locked on the Phoenix's radiation signature. It's apparent, and teleporting the Phoenix Force into the rib cage of the dead Celestial is kind of the if nothing else works, we do that. The Defenders of the Deep are half in, half out of the water, and trying to get to the Phoenix Force themselves to basically help claim it for Namor. Luke Cage and Iron Fist talk about how things are, with Luke Cage asking, having heard about the baby, saying, Avengers got a baby? Who's baby? Iron Fist says it's a space baby. Boy Thing is watching the baby. But Luke just kind of says, plant kids, space babies, gorilla butlers. We thought the Avengers we were in them. Apparently, Brew has discovered the joys of the double espresso and only sleeps when he starts to go feral. But the Avengers are attacking the Phoenix Force, and it actually does kind of seem to be working a little bit. Ghost Rider's Hellfire chain is kind of helping with that. But Thor then goes in for an attack, but Captain Marvel pointing out that it seems like it's personal for him, but he narrates that he makes his way to the Phoenix, that he knows the Phoenix Force well, but he cannot be reasoned with, and he has not the faculties. He despises the Phoenix, but he can't remember exactly why. At Stonehenge, Black Knight prepares to battle Red Widow. In the skies above the Bermuda Triangle, American Eagle fights Shanna and Zabu. On Easter Island, Valkyrie fights She-Hulk. In Ukraine, surrounded by the various vampires taking refuge in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, Black Panther faces Wolverine, who's basically sick of letting other people take the flaming bullet, so he's going to take it himself. Back with Thor, however, he does think about the possible reasons why he despises the Phoenix so much, noting thinking maybe it's the history that his father has with the Phoenix. They were lovers, apparently, over a million years ago. However, he does add that most everything in existence has an uneasy history with his father. But there's something else, some connection of his own with the Phoenix Force. He's felt it time and again, but could never quite put his finger on it. And we find out what that connection is. The Phoenix Force is his mother. Or at least claims to be his mother. That is where the issue ends. And that's me it for this video. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.